Spoilers for Act 5 of the Fontaine Archon Quest Masquerade of the Guilty and version 4.2 ahead. So, if you don't mind, or you've already played, let's get right into it. So first off, after the Primordial One beats up the dragons and takes away their authority, probably killing the Hydro Sovereign in the process, Primordial One now has to find a replacement for a very specific role that the Hydro Sovereign fulfilled, namely the role of the Heart of the Primordial Sea. In order to do this, an envoy from the heavens who is tasked with creating life, and is probably the same shade in charge of creating life referenced in before Sun and Moon, this envoy creates Egeria, the new heart of the Primordial Sea. Importantly, at this point in time, she isn't a god. Egeria just kind of chills, does hearty things, whatever it is that hearts do. But one of the other things she does is she has these familiars, the Oceanids and the Hydro Eidolons, all of whom want to check it out. Oh, what's it like to be human? So Egeria makes them into humans by injecting primordial seawater into their veins. Don't ask me how this works. I don't know how this works. It's Tevat science, Tevat magic. But only the Primordial One is allowed to make humans. So Egeria is considered to have committed a major sin, and this sin is passed down to all Fontanians who have all been created from the Oceanids and the Hydro Eidolons. This is also the cause of the prophecy that Fontaine will be sunken, and then the Hydro Archon will be alone, weeping on her throne as all of the Fontanians are dissolved into nothingness. Because Fate, aka the Heavenly Principles, aka Celestia, aka the Primordial One, didn't like that Egeria did this, so this is her punishment. Following this, under unknown circumstances, technically speaking, but probably because she was being punished, Egeria becomes imprisoned. We can, at this point, probably safely assume it was a punishment for creating humans in reference to the slate, where the heavens still punish her, even though she and all the other little humans are on the ground being like, don't hurt us, please. But during the era of Remuria, under the god king Remus, the knight Arrhenius sets out to find and free Egeria using an object called the Pure Grail, according to Splendor of Tranquil Waters. At this point, the story splits into two versions. Version 1 says that Arrhenius succeeded and freed Egeria after finding the Pure Grail, but version 2 says that Arrhenius actually was unable to find it until the heavens themselves intervened and freed Egeria to take over Fontaine from Remus. Version 2 is more likely since, according to the Fontaine wings, Egeria was granted the Hydro Dragon's authority and became an Archon after the destruction of Remuria. So it would make sense if, Remuria destroyed and Egeria takes over, because Celestia is like, hey, we could kind of use somebody to go in now. Your turn, Egeria, even though we locked you up. Have fun. So, we also know she took over Fontaine pretty shortly after Remuria's destruction, going by the book History of the Rise, Fall, Decline, whatever of Remuria, which was written only a century after its destruction, by which point Egeria had already helped to establish cities, which also, on a side note, lines up with Splendor and Wings. It's also worth noting that, potentially because of her imprisonment, humans have evidence that indicates Egeria is younger than Oceanids, despite them being her familiars. But this is probably just, human misinformation, because the sources is from the ancient natural history excerpts also make it sound like Egeria is younger than Remuria, which we know for sure isn't. So I personally find it semi-unlikely that the Oceanids already existed before Egeria did within the Primordial Sea, but hey, technically possible, worth pointing out, just pretty unlikely. So for the next few thousand years, Egeria doesn't really do anything of note, but the next time she's mentioned is when she dies. So much fun, guys. During the Cataclysm, Egeria sacrifices herself to seal the abyssal energies and the monsters emerging from Tunigi Hollow, but was contaminated in the process and couldn't be reborn in a pure plane, whatever that's supposed to mean. It was Sorush who said it, and if you've done the Pari quest, Sorush likes to talk fancy. And it's also worth noting this is Pari legends passed down over the years, which are probably pretty accurate, but not necessarily the same thing as 100% accurate in the way that archive descriptions are. But the point is, because Egeria has been contaminated, she can't be reborn in whatever this other plane is, so she's tied to the mortal realm instead, and Ruka Devata binds her consciousness by growing the Harvest Totem. Specifically, the Gaokerena, the lotus inside of the Harvest Totem, which is the giant stump inside of Pari Land, contains Egeria's consciousness. But Egeria's physical body after her death transforms into the Pool of Amrita that the Pari are born from. However, the pool was going to be contaminated, so the divine bird Simurgh sacrifices herself to cleanse it by diving in, according to Vorokasha's glow. And this combination of the pool in Amrita and Simurgh, which contained a combination of the Khvarena, which was from Nabu Malakata, the goddess of flowers, and Rukdevada's own power, created the Pari, which is why they honor Egeria as their god, and also are like, yeah, Simurgh, our divine bird, who basically created us, woo! Woo! But before dying, Egeria also picks out the Oceanid Focalor as her successor, passing down the responsibility of the prophecy to her as well, which Focalor was, understandably salty about, because that's kind of a lot of responsibility to put on somebody's shoulders. So, in the end, the TLDR is basically Egeria is created. Egeria creates humans, but fake humans. Egeria gets in trouble. Egeria gets released because somebody else is causing even more trouble. Egeria just chills for a while. Then Egeria dies. The end. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks!